Hey guys, I thought I would do a tutorial for you on this image of my daughter. I took this photo a few days back because the sun was like so beautiful that night, and I really wanted to capture um, the backlight and how it's shimmering off of these weeds. I would say these are not plants that I know of, but weeds. How it's shimmering off of these weeds over here, and then also over here in these areas, you can see the sun just shimmering across the dirt. And so I really wanted to capture a photo of her in this setting. And I just put her in a shaded area, and the sun was able to come in and kind of bounce off the back of her hair. Now, obviously, as I've told you in many of my tutorials, if you're anything like me, you don't have an hour to sit and watch a tutorial. So I try to jump in and not get overly detailed, but give you just some little tips and tricks that I use in order to create my images. Also, I am not a Photoshop guru. So if you really, really want to learn Photoshop, I would suggest going to Flearn, because Aaron Nace is like phenomenal at teaching Photoshop, and he actually like knows all of the like technical stuff behind what Photoshop does. I think also I've seen a few tutorials by the Kelby One channel, and they seem to be pretty technical with their tutorials as well. This is just me showing you how I get from point A to point B. So if you're looking for like, in-depth technical reasons why you do something, definitely check out Flearn and some of those other tutorials. So this image, I'm just going to jump right into it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down the highlights just a tad. And I'm hoping that my computer is not slow today. It's running fairly slow. So I'm going to go over here to my highlights, and I'm going to bring them down to around 50 just to decrease them a little bit. And then I'm just going to mess around with these different sliders. I think I'm going to bring the shadows all the way down. And then let's just mess around with these whites. I think I'm just going to leave them as is. And then, and then right here, I'm going to just mess around with my blacks, and I don't want to do anything with that actually. So I'm just going to leave those on 0. And then I'm going to bring up the temperature quite a bit. I'm going to bring it up to around 6800. And then I'm going to mess around with the vibrance and see if I want to do anything with that. I'm going to bring it up to around 25. It just increases the vibrance of the image without making the colors too wonky. I have some, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, chromatic aberration going on in her hair, but I'm not going to fix that right now. I'm just going to get into more of the coloring of the image. So I'm going to go ahead and open this in Photoshop. Okay, so I'm going to crop this image a little bit. I'm going to just crop over here on this left-hand side because there's a stick, and honestly, I just don't feel like taking it out. And then I'm going to crop over here on the right. And I think I might actually come in to right about there. So she's kind of in that rule of thirds area. And then I'm going to crop it. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to go to Layer, Duplicate Layer. Now, obviously, there are shortcuts for every single step you can do in Photoshop. I'm really awful at them. I have really not taken the time to sit and learn them, and I'm sure that, some people think that's crazy, but I just haven't. So I do things the long way. I've kind of been that way my whole life, so it's not new. I'm going to take this background copy, and I'm going to put the blend mode on multiply. and that's just going to darken it up quite a bit. Now, I'm not sure if I necessarily want her to be that dark, so I'm going to put a layer mask here. And since it's white, I can take a soft black brush, and right here are your foreground and background colors, and you want this top box to be black because you're going to be painting the effect off of your subject. So I'm going to take a soft black brush, and I am going to bring the opacity down to around, let's try 40. I should just type it in. I always use the sliders. I'm going to increase the brush size, and I'm just going to very gently just kind of tap over her like so. I'm not going to like paint it off fully. And then also over here, I'm going to do the same just in this like really dark, intense area. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to flatten the image. And I'm going to go to layer, duplicate layer, and I'm going to go to filter, other, high pass, and I'm going to set my radius to around 2. And then I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to take the blend mode of that layer and set it to overlay. And that's just going to sharpen the image a little bit. As you can see, it just sharpened it a tad. And then I'm going to flatten that again. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and go to layer, new adjustment layer, gradient map. And I'm not sure if I'm going to put the blend mode on soft light or keep it on normal. So I'm just going to mess around with it and see. I'm going to bring the opacity down to around 15 and hit OK. And then I'm going to double click on this because I accidentally, oh, wait, whoop, I don't know what I'm doing. I forget, like for some reason, my toolbar thing or whatever this is called used to be over here and it's not anymore. So I have to get used to that. So I'm going to click on this gradient map slider, and I'm going to click on this first slider right here and then click on color. And I'm going to just pick an orange from the image. And I'm not sure which one I'm going to like best, but I think I'll do one of these darker oranges here. And then on this slider over here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hit OK and then click on the slider and click on color. And then I'm going to click on one of the colors in the image. I think I might pick that same orange color. And then I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to put this blend mode on soft light just to see if I like it. Yeah, I like that a bit better. So it just kind of added a little warmth to the photo. Then I'm going to go to layer, new adjustment layer, layer, new fill layer gradient. And I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to click on this gradient bar. I'm going to click on this first slider here and then click on the color box. And I'm going to select an orange again. And then on this right side, I'm going to click the slider and click on the color box. And then I'm going to select the gray in her dress. And then I'm going to hit OK on those. And then what I'm going to do is leave this box open and I'm going to slide the gradient down just a little bit. See, you can move it up and down. So I'm going to put it there and hit OK. And then I'm going to click on the white layer mask that is on this gradient layer. And I'm going to take my brush again. I'm going to keep the opacity at around 40. I'm going to make sure that my brush is black because I want to take some of this effect off. And I'm just going to lightly tap over my subject. Like so. Then I'm going to zoom in on her And I am going to go to layer, new layer, and hit OK. And I am going to take a white brush. So I'm going to make sure that this top square here is pure white. I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to zoom in a little more. And I'm going to decrease the size of my brush quite a bit. And what I'm going to do is just click over those catch lights a little bit. And then I'm going to switch that layer of those catch lights to overlay and decrease the opacity down to around 45. I might even do soft light and see how I like that. Let's try soft light and bring the opacity up. Okay, I think I like that better. One thing I am going to do though is I want to have her pupil showing. So I'm going to click on this layer mask, like add a layer mask icon. And I'm going to take a black brush at 100% opacity, really small. And I'm just going to paint over that catch light a little bit, just so you can see the black in her eye. And then I'm going to step back and take a look at this. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is up here on her hair, there's a little bit of a sun spot. So I'm going to click on this background layer here. And I'm just going to take my spot healing brush tool and just go over her hair right in that little spot. Okay, now for the final step, I'm going to flatten this image and I'm going to go to layer, duplicate layer. I'm going to do that twice. On this middle layer, I am going to go to filter and I'm going to go to other and then high pass. And I'm going to set this at around 55 or 56 and hit OK. And then I'm going to go up here on this top layer and set it to overlay. Now, as you can see, this kind of went crazy. It looks really like intense. So what I'm going to do is group these layers together. I'm going to hold shift and click on this middle layer and it's going to select both of these. And then I'm going to go to new group from layers, and you just do that by clicking on this little icon right here. Now I'm going to decrease the opacity of this layer just a little bit. I think right around, let's try 80. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't want this effect to affect my entire image. So I'm going to add a layer mask and then I'm going to hit Command I and invert it. And then I'm going to take a white soft brush because the white brush on a black layer mask is going to reveal the effect because you're hiding it with the black layer mask. And I'm just going to paint over her hair and make sure that my brush is like at 100% opacity. I'm going to paint over her hair and her dress and arms and over on these rocks right here, like so. And then I'm going to lower the opacity of the brush a little bit to around 70, and I'm going to paint over her face, like so. Okay, so let's take a look. There's the before, there's the after. Now I'm going to take this lasso tool and I'm going to just draw a V over her like this. And then I'm going to go to select and mask and I'm going to feather this to around, let's try 200. I'm just going to type it in here and then hit OK. And then I'm going to go to layer, new adjustment layer, curves. And I'm going to go right in the center and drag up the center right about there. And then I'm going to hit Command and click on this layer mask. And as you can see, it highlighted that selection again. So I want to, after I brightened her face, now I want to kind of darken the background just a tad. So I'm going to go to Select Inverse. And now, as you can see, there's like these marching ants around the edge and then around this selection here. So whatever I do is now going to affect just this area that's inside the marching ants. So I'm going to go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Curves, and I'm going to go down here on the bottom and just bring that down a tad, so right about there. And that's it. So there's the image after I did my adjustments. And the other thing I would do to this photo is add some texture. So if you have some textures laying around, you can do that. Or you can actually go up to, you can flatten this image if you're all done. And then go to Layer. Let's see. Let me see if this works if I just duplicate the layer. Yeah, so if you duplicate the layer, then you can go to Pattern Overlay. And you can mess around with these various patterns they have. So, for example, I think this one I am in, I'm not sure. I think these might be color paper. Let me see. Yeah, this is color paper. I kind of like this green. Ooh, this one's kind of pretty. So all you do is click on these and you can change them to various patterns. So all you do is click on this little icon here, and then you can click on the different textures you want to use. And the cool thing about it is you can actually mess around with the scale of the texture by going to Scale and sliding the slider up and down. And then you can also change the blend mode. So obviously I'm not going to use those, but just giving you an idea of what you can do. You know, you can do like multiply. Yeah, you can do all sorts of things with it. And so I think I'm going to go back to the colored paper and hit OK. And I think I kind of like this green one. I'm going to put it on normal. Let's do soft light actually. And then I'm just going to mess around with the scale. I think I'm going to put it at around 170 over here. And then hit OK. And then I'm going to add a layer mask by clicking this. And I'm going to take a black brush, and I'm just going to click over my subject a little bit to erase a little bit of that texture off of her, like so. Okay, so there you go. Since I flattened this image along the way, I don't have the original raw file unless one of you know how to go back to that. But let me see here if I can open. Let me see. I think this is 0996. Let me go in here and see if I can find the before. Okay, so right here, that was the before. So there's the after, before. Anyway, so I hope you guys, I'm not like a Photoshop master. So if you're looking for like technical jargon and stuff that will like really go into like the math they use or whatever, I don't know how they even create Photoshop, but if you really are into that, then I would highly suggest Flern. And then I believe Kelby one has some tutorials on their channel. Excuse me. So anyway, I hope that helps you guys with some things, and we will talk to you later with the next tutorial. All right, thank you.